You just said the throne.
That's all I wrote.
Well, write the actual fucking quote next time.
I didn't put quotes around it.
It's the fucking Iron Throne.
Paraphrasing.
Give it its proper fucking title.
I'm done with your shit.
Well, respect the fucking material.
Respect the Iron Throne.
Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Brotherhood Without Manners, your favorite full spoiler rereading podcast of George R.R. Martin's A Song of Ice and Fire series, starting with a Game of Thrones, and we are almost done with it. As always, I am one of your co-hosts, Zach. Sitting next to me is my dipshit of a brother, Nate.
Hey, I discovered right now that I like the shape of your waveform from your AO.
Did it look like a Kamehameha?
No, it just looked cool, though.
Oh.
It's pretty sweet.
That's cool.
More like a Big Bang.
Oh, sweet.
There you go.
All right.
It doesn't, but you know, you were bitching about me being a dipshit, so I had to boost your ego somehow.
Alrighty.
Wow.
So, if you've never listened to us before, Nate does that, and I talk about Game of Thrones. We are full spoiler, so if you haven't read the books, we will ruin things for them, especially with these chapters that we've been recently reading.
Yeah, since we're at the end of the first book,
yeah.
And, you know, we already know what happens at the end anyway.
But
so.
if you listened before, welcome back. Thank you for joining. You probably listened to our last episode, which was Tyrion 9, Tyrion's final chapter in A Game of Thrones, and Tyrion was promoted.
Yeah, it was a pretty cool chapter. We got to see some Tywin sweating a little bit in his fucking...
And also seeming to acknowledge Tyrion's usefulness and resourcefulness and his wisdom, where Tyrion does the famous throw the wine glass on the floor and say, "There's your piece."
Yeah.
You know, Joffrey saw to that when he took Ned Stark's head.
And even if Tyrion was a little upset that the reason Tywin was acknowledging him was because he was acting as though now Jaime was
lost,
done.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a shit way to do it, but you're getting the acknowledgement.
Ever the pragmatist is Tywin,
exactly.
you know, he's going to go with his next
best bet.
Yeah, that's it, the next thing. And for him, it's family continuing the line, and Tyrion is, regardless of if Tywin likes it.
But this episode, we are reading Jon 9.
Jon's final chapter at the final chapter at the Wall. We get the wrapping up in the north. And last we left Jon was pretty upset because Ned Stark had been imprisoned.
Right. And
people weren't telling him, except Samwell Tarly had read the letter to him in secret, so he kind of was waiting and in an very entitled sort of way, expecting Mormont to divulge this information to him. And he was getting pissed when it wasn't happening and very petulant.
And Mormont put him in his fucking place.
Yeah, and Aemon did as well, saying, you know, I'm one, revealing that he's Aemon Targaryen, and two, basically saying the gods saw fit to test my vows 3 fucking times, and all 3 times I chose to stay here through the destruction of my house. And so, did I choose right? I don't know. I've had to live with that decision. And so you've got that choice to make now as well. And you're not the only person who's ever had to make that choice, because that's the choice every person who comes to the Wall has to make of, do I keep these vows or do I forsake them all and go do what I feel is right? And so we pick up with Jon saddling a horse.
Yeah.
He's decided to dip.
Yeah, so... As a full spoiler, we know that he's gotten the news now that Ned is dead.
Yeah.
Dead.
Robb's
Ned.
marching to war, has called all the banners, and is heading south.
And Samwell Tarly is there pleading with him not to leave. Don't go. Just don't do it,
Yeah,
Jon.
there's a cold wind blowing that is startling his mare, and so Jon is calming her. And he calls Ghost to him, and the wolf was there with eyes like embers. And so this is the first point I would like to make. We've gotten the comet referenced now from Bran, and we don't get it at this chapter for Jon. Jon doesn't notice the comet, but this chapter is saturated with the color red.
Yeah, I was hoping you would get to that soon, because I feel like your notebook is yelling at me.
Yeah.
Because it's like down the fucking side margin of his entire notebook. It's just red. It's fucking weird.
And this is the first part of it. This is, I think, Jon's comment. Like, this is what Jon is putting his faith and belief in, is this color red and sort of the different symbols we'll get for it, because the red sort of symbolizes this internal, in this chapter for Jon, red will start to symbolize this internal conflict he's having of, should I stay or should I go now?
Yeah, don't do that again. I'm kidding. That was wonderful.
And so, the wolf's eyes were burning like embers. Yeah, Sam is pleading with him, please don't go. And he's standing in the stable door.
Step aside, Sam, or I'll run you down.
There's a full moon behind Sam, and Jon notes that he casts a giant's shadow, which I just think is excellent, because Tyrion
got the exact
same thing, and there's a lot in this about the shadows that men can cast, and the fact that Samwell Tarly, this craven,
Well, I think it's funny with him, especially being such a heavy guy, that on that first read, you're just, obviously he casts a big fucking shadow. Look at him. But it's showing that, like, he's a bigger man than Jon.
This is one of Sam's bravest moments here, is he's standing up to and
it's his
if you've ever read Harry Potter, like, it's easy to it's hard to stand up to our enemies, but it's even harder to stand up to our friends, and he's really trying to tell Jon, like, we need, like, shit's going on up here, like, we need you, like, you're a great fighter, you're a kind of glue for us, like, you banded some of the boys together, like, don't go and forsake this and become a criminal. Right. And so it's a brave it's his Neville Longbottom moment.
Jon ignores the fuck out of him.
Jon ignores the shit out of him.
And he charges straight at him once he climbs up on his horse, knowing that poor Sam is going to eventually jump out of the way.
He held his ground till the last second.
I think that fucking Jon underestimated the shit out of them there.
Yeah.
Like, fuck you, Jon. Fuck you.
But he does leap aside, and the mare jumps over him, and Jon takes off into the night, and we get the Castle Black was silent as he rides out of it with Ghost at his side. There were men on the walls, of course, but they're looking north, not south.
And so he says that he needs to put as much space between him and the wall as he can, and he thinks about how he left... First he doesn't think that Sam is brave enough to wake up the bear, Lord Mormont.
As he's riding out, he does think on Sam, that he hopes Sam didn't hurt himself jumping, but he starts flexing his hand, his burnt hand, and we learned that it was recently unbandaged, and so he's got the taut skin.
Does it say it's red fleshy stuff?
You had just mentioned in Dany's chapter how quickly they tend to heal.
Truth.
And he's already got it unbandaged and is able to flex it out and try to bend this burnt skin. Like, I thought that was pretty quick that it was already unbandaged.
And granted,
and he's holding reins
and stuff, but, like, he's still healed.
Yeah, he's still able to hold a mare's reins and guide a mare, and just has to flex it out. It does start to pain him a little bit in this chapter, but I think this is another point of the kind of the Targaryen blood healing factor. And so, he... just wants to put as much distance as he can before, and he thinks that Jeor Mormont tends to rise at first light. And so he had basically until then, if Sam did not betray him and tell everybody, because he thinks Sam's easily frightened, but he loved Jon like a brother, so he wouldn't. He would tell the truth if questioned, but he doubts he would go and wake Mormont up, because Sam's kind of a coward about that kind of stuff. So.
Yeah, and so as he's riding, he's kind of plotting out his course, deciding how he clearly needs to change his clothes, because he's going to stick out like a sore thumb, and so he's going to steal some shit. Are you good?
Keep going, yeah.
Yeah, so he's thinking about trading his horse, so that way he can keep continuing further south, because if he rides this one too far, it's going to tire anyway. But he thinks on Winterfell, and how he's not going to go to Winterfell because Bran would accept him with open arms, but Maester Luwin would be like, nah, definitely shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah, he also thinks that, about Castle Black, that when he didn't appear to fetch Mormont his breakfast, they would go looking for him.
Oh, yeah.
And when they entered his cell,
Did we mention Longclaw being
They
left?
would find Longclaw leaning on his bed, and because even Jorah Mormont didn't take the sword when he left, so Jon isn't going to take that.
He said
with
he had
him.
enough honor to leave that behind.
Yeah, and he feels bad when he thinks of the old bear, that his desertion would be salt in a still raw wound of his son's disgrace, and it was a poor way to repay his trust. And no matter what Jon did, he felt like he was betraying someone. And so that, I think,
but that's exactly what Aemon was saying.
That's the whole point of the decision. And he thinks that even now he doesn't know if he's doing the honorable thing, riding south to go.
Right.
And he thinks that, the Southerners probably had it much easier with the Septons, where they could go to them and the Septons could say, here's what the gods want from you. But the Starks worshipped the old gods, the nameless gods, and they don't answer when you speak. Which, in Bran's chapter, we get the speaking of the wind, and there is a cold, dead wind, as Jon describes it, blowing this night.
Well, yeah, because it's funny that we learned from Osha there. Osha? Osha. In Bran's chapter that the gods are talking. You just need to listen.
And he has fucking Ghost here with him.
Yeah.
Who's looking at him with the face of a werewood, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
So, he slows his horse down when the last lights of Castle Black start to vanish behind him. And it was a long road, he thinks, and he only has the one horse. And so, he then begins contemplating Winterfell, decides not to go there at all, because, as you said, and yet he still thinks he pictures it as the day he left, and he wants to hear Bran laugh and eat Gage's cooking and hear old Nan's tales of the children of the forest and Florian the Fool, which more set up for Clash of Kings, because Florian the Fool is going to become Sansa's little fairy tale that's happening.
So it's funny because because that reminds him that I'm not riding south for Winterfell. Mm-hmm. That's not why I'm going there. I'm Ned Stark's son and Robb's brother.
Yeah.
Not a Mormont.
Yeah, the gift of a fine sword like Longclaw did not make him a Mormont.
Nor was he a Targaryen.
Who chose honor 3 times, and even now Jon couldn't decide if he was craven or strong and true. Yet he understood the pain of choosing. Man, that's such a loaded line right there.
And I'm not, nor was he a Targaryen.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah, it's, and the fact though, he can't decide if what Aemon did was brave or,
the
and that's what
thing.
And Jon's thinking that, how the fuck do you think Aemon feels, dude? His whole house died, and he might have not realistically been able to do anything to prevent it, but he could have tried, and then he thinks that Tyrion Lannister claimed most men would rather deny a hard truth than face it. But Jon was done with denials. He was who he was. Jon Snow, bastard and oathbreaker, motherless, friendless, and damned. For however long remained of his life, he'd be condemned to be an outsider, the silent man in the shadows who dares not speak his true name. But it made no matter, so long as he lived long enough to take his place by his brother's side to help avenge his father. So,
dude.
Angst, the man in the shadows. I'll speak not my name.
But the man in the shadows who, it's so funny that he's forced, he's kind of telling his own story without realizing it, that his name can't be told, or telling Ned's story, your name can't actually be said throughout the Seven Kingdoms.
And even his future here with the Night's Watch, he'd be condemned to be an outsider. He's always, even because of his crazy ideas of later on, full spoiler reread, letting the wildlings through the wall and all this, he's ostracized and eventually fucking killed for it. He is this outsider who is friendless. Well, not friendless. He's got Sam and them.
Oh, the friends that he does have are just fiercely loyal, I think is what Dumbledore would say.
And, it's just interesting that...
Fierce friend.
That he's thinking the only thing that matters with his pathetically pitiful little life is getting to his father and brother's side. But Mormont will flip that on him at the end and say... You're supposed to be at this fucking wall with us, with your wolf right now, because shit's popping off. Yeah. And so it's great setup for that at the end.
So him, with his little internal monologue there, reminds him of Robb. And so he starts to think of him as he knew him. And he knows that he's going to have to sneak to Robb in disguise. And he just tries to imagine the look on Robb's face when he reveals himself. And then he realizes that he can't manage to get a smile on Rob's face in this
scenario.
Yeah. and he thinks about the Garrett.
Yeah, the deserter, his father beheaded the day they found the dire wolves, and he wonders what Eddard would have done if it was Benjen.
Uncle Ben.
Instead. It didn't bear thinking about, though, because Jon thinks he knows what Ned would do and stick to honor. And
well, because that's what's funny. He says, surely Robb would welcome him for certainty, or else... And then he can't bear to think about it, so he just kind of continues on the road.
Yeah, no, because realistically...
He knows.
Yeah, Robb is, like, you're condemned. You broke your vows to the Night's Watch, like, by... And Robb is the Lord of Winterfell.
Of all people, like...
Who has to. Yes, he has to for every fucking precedence of every custom in the North. He has to behead Jon Snow or lose all his bannermen while he's marching to fucking war. Like... And so that's why Jon immediately, skirt, like, no, I'm not going to think about that. And he breaks into a gallop as if to outrun his doubts.
Yeah, and which point Ghost keeps pace for quite a while and then kind of drifts off and does his own thing. It even mentioned.
Yeah, he thinks this gallop is dangerous, but he doesn't fear death. But he doesn't want to die like a deserter of the Night's Watch, bound and beheaded like a common brigand. If he must die, let it be sword in hand, fighting his father's killers. He was no true Stark, but he could die like one. Which, it's, I mean, like, you're gonna lead these crazy rangings north of the wall, like, you're gonna fight the wild, like, Jon, just fucking chill, you angsty little turd. It frustrates me. But yeah, eventually Ghost disappears, and Jon trusts that he'll find his way back, as he does. And so he gets to Molestown, riding through Molestown, most of which is underground. And the men of the walls would often come down here because of the horrors, which they called buried treasures.
And so he's like, well, what the fuck? Like, why is what I'm doing any different than what they're doing? They're forsaking their vows coming.
Yeah, he wonders if any are down there right now, like, getting laid. And he stops and dismounts beyond the village because this also, again, with the red, this is the red light. This is the Red Lantern District.
Yeah.
And he sees the red lanterns outside burning. This is the color red again, where this is oath-breaking. This is a symbol of the Night's Watchman's
vows
breaking. But in the most common, it happens all the time. It's known. No one really cares. And so it's this inner turmoil of what if what Jon's doing really so wrong at this point? Because all he's done is rode to Molestown, which everybody's fucking done. Yet he's galloping, he's like breaking his neck, like I'm almost gonna kill himself on this horse, trying to outrun his own shit more so than anything else. And so he dismounts beyond the village and stops at a small stream, drinks and splashes some on his face. And his fingers started throbbing at this point, and his head pounded. And he thinks, if I'm doing the right thing, why do I feel so bad? And he walks the horse for a while and starts to think about the recklessness of his crazy galloping charge. And he hears a frightened animal and calls out for Ghost.
Yeah.
And Ghost does not appear. And he begins to worry for his wolf. So he decides to stop and eat and fill his stomach so that Ghost can catch up to him.
Yeah, because he kind of thinks about it logically after worrying for a minute that there's nothing in these woods besides maybe a bear that could fucking bother Ghost. And so, like, Ghost isn't so stupid that he's going to fuck with a bear, so he doesn't really have to worry too much about Ghost.
Yeah, so he's sitting under a tree, eating, chilling, with his mare feeding, and he begins to hear some horses and voices coming from the north, and by this point, they're too close for him to outrun.
Do you think the animal was anything to do with Ghost?
I feel like the animal might have been something, but I feel like it was more just potentially them coming.
That's what I was going to ask. Do you think it might have just been them either
galloping,
Pip squeaking, squealing out loud, or scaring some little
or a horse even like neighing, whatever. Yeah, and so he leads his mare down into the trees, trying to, like, hide, crouching, hoping that they'll just ride past, and he hears 4 or 5 voices arguing over where Jon went, and he recognizes his friends, Pip, Gren, Toad, and Halder. And they all fell silent when Gren thinks he hears something or Pip thinks he hears something.
Yeah, that's Jon realizes, oh shit, he didn't go to Mormont, but he didn't go to sleep either. That
yeah, no, he
motherfucker
went
to
and
our
rounded
friends.
up the posse. Yeah, and so a long while passes as they all sit in silence, and Ghost comes bounding out of the woods, causing Jon's mare to whinny, and the others hear it and start coming over, and Jon looks at Ghost and calls him a traitor.
Yeah, which is, like, that's what he's technically doing. He's becoming a traitor to the Night's Watch. I banged the table.
You fucking suck.
The first time in 70 episodes compared to your 150 times.
And so, yeah, Jon saddles up, but they're on him, and he draws his sword, warning them off. I don't want to hurt you, but I will. And they surround him, 7 in all.
Which maybe if it was day 1, he could handle them all.
Even now, I could cut through the 5 of you like carving a cake.
But he trained them all, and they're pretty adept now. So.
And so Jon is spinning in circles, which I just thought he's spinning his mare in circles, but he's literally going in circles at this point with this argument in his fucking head.
Oh, yeah.
And so the boys close in around him, and they begin to
say the vows. Like, this moment right here is just like, fuck you,
Yeah,
Jon.
no,
like,
this is a really good moment. Yeah, and as they are saying it, they're getting in closer and closer, and Pips reaches over and grabs the reins of Jon's mare.
Yeah, because he's trying to argue, tell him, I know the vows.
Yeah,
Stop.
Yeah, damn you all. Others take you. And yeah, Pip grabs the reins and says, kill me now or come back with me. And Jon lowers his sword with a damn you all. And he agrees, because Pip's like, you're not gonna like be a bitch about this, right? You're just gonna cut. And Jon's like, yeah, no, I won't flee. Like, and he
basically does not remember most of the ride.
Well, he turns to Ghost and says, small help you were. And Ghost looks at him with red eyes, looking at him knowingly.
So do you think that Ghost attacked the animal to attract them?
Ghost is his comet. Ghost is leading Jon where he needs to be.
I think that Ghost attacked the animal to get the boys' attention, which led them to the horse.
Yeah, that's why Ghost
so that he could bound
stayed
out.
back, because every other time when Jon is doing, Ghost runs ahead of him.
Yeah.
Ghost lagged behind this time.
To lead
the boys to him. Yeah. Ghost knew exactly what Ghost was doing to get him back where they need to be, which is at the fucking wall. Like,
that's one more reason that I think, because these wolves are so important, that's why Nymeria was in Whispering Wood.
Oh my God, shut up. But yeah, the red eyes looking at him knowingly. The red, again, this where he's supposed to be versus where he should be. And yeah, he doesn't... The ride back seemed much shorter, and they made really good time. The red lanterns were extinguished at this point in the Lantern District.
Yeah, because he's on his path.
When the Mole's Town, the oath breaking doesn't apply anymore. He's going back, and Ghost has managed to convince him back where they need to go. And so Castle Black did not seem like home when it appeared this time, though. And
he thinks that they can't watch him all the time.
Yeah.
And he'll find his time soon enough to get out of there again.
And he'd take a different route and go this way so they couldn't track him.
East Watch by the sea and then go down. Or I'll head out through the mountains with the Wildling clans or the Northern clans and like, fuck you, Jon.
So Sam is waiting for them at the stables and he tells, I'm glad they found you, Jon. I'm not. Oh, fuck off, Jon. And when day broke, Jon goes to get Old Bear's breakfast.
I like that before we get that far, when they're settling or cleaning up the horses and shit, stabling them, that Pip's like, everybody get ready for a long fucking day. Thanks to fucking Lord Snow here. We all got to work a regular day with absolutely no sleep because he wanted to go for a midnight fucking Jon through the fucking woods.
Yeah, kind of calling him on his shit. So yeah, he gets the Old Bear's breakfast, brings it up to him, and he finds Mormont at his window seat writing, with the Raven chilling near him. And Old Bear tells him to put it on the table and get him some beer.
Give him some beer.
So Jon does, and Mormont just picks up with him. Doubtless you loved your father. The things we love destroy us every time, lad. Remember I told you that? And Jon says, I remember not wanting to talk about his father.
I remember.
Even with Mormont. And Mormont tells him, never forget it. Hard truths are the ones to hold tight. You look weary. Was your moonlight ride so tiring? And Jon is like the kid caught. His throat goes dry. You know? And the Raven echoes, no. Which, this fucking Raven, man. The Old Bear snorted.
So I also think that it's funny because he didn't technically know, and so it's more like I also feel like the Raven had that like, no, he didn't know, but Aemon told him, so
yeah. He says, think I'm Lord Commander because I'm stupid. Aemon told me you'd go. I told him you'd be back. I know my men and the boys. Honor set you on the King's Road. Honor brought you back.
My friends brought me back, actually.
I didn't say it was your honor.
Fucking... Oh, man, he puts him in his place.
Mormont,
it's so good.
I hate what happens to Mormont because I love Mormont so much.
Yeah.
And Jon starts pissy-fitting around. They killed my father. You expect me to do nothing? As he stamps his foot. And
like Henry Winkler from the Water Boy when he's...
Oh, God.
I hate him.
And Mormont says, truth be told, we expected you to do just as you did. I ordered a watch kept over you. You were seen leaving. Even if your friends didn't fetch you, you would have been taken along the way, and not by friends.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, you would have been probably beaten a little bit and brought back, not nicely. And Jon felt a fool, but tells Mormont, I know the penalty for desertion, my lord. I am not afraid to die.
Yeah, which is funny because even Mormont's like, shut the fuck up, dude. Like,
the Raven picks up the die.
Yeah.
Die! Which,
and,
fuck Raven.
He asks Jon, like, he says, that's not going to happen,
Nor live, I hope. Like, we're not going to kill you. Like,
unless you plan on, biding your time and running off again. It's like, again, like he was just fucking harping on that shit. He's like,
I do like Mormont says, you've not deserted yet. If we beheaded everyone who rode to Molestown, only ghosts would man the wall. Which, with just the presence of Ghost in this, I just thought was fucking ridiculous. And and then he just immediately is like, oh yeah, and the thoughts you were just having 10 seconds ago on my stairs.
And so, he asks him do you think going down's gonna bring your fucking father back? No. So shut the fuck up. But no, he asks what makes you so much stronger than the armies surrounding your brother? What makes you so mighty that you are going to make the difference?
Mormont gets incredulous because he says, when Jon says no, I don't think I can bring him back, he says, good, we've seen the dead come back, you and me, and it's not something I really want to see again. And asks what the fuck are you gonna do? He's got all his bannermen, all these high lords around him. Like you're that good of a swordsman, you're gonna protect him more so than they ever could.
I like that he even mentioned, he's like, my sister's down there probably riding with your brother.
Yeah.
You think I don't want to be by her side, fucking making sure that she's handling her business?
And Jon has no answer to that. And he says you aren't the only one touched by this war. I can hardly stand to be around my sister, the wretched woman, yet that doesn't mean I love her less than the love you bear for your father, or your half-sisters. And he thinks, well, maybe it does. I don't know. But he says, you don't see me running off. My place is here. Where is yours, boy?
And I think this is the first good answer that he finally gives.
Yeah.
I don't know where my place is. That's what he's been debating this whole chapter.
He thinks in his head, I have no place. I'm a bastard, no rights, no name, no mother, and now no father. And Mormont says, I do know. Cold winds are rising, Snow. Beyond the wall, shadows lengthen. Cotter Pike reports herds of elk and mammoths streaming southeast toward the sea. The Shadow Tower reports whole villages abandoned. Quarren Half-Hand.
So, do you think that any of those elk are going to be ridden by Cold Hands?
Maybe Cold Hands is shepherding.
Well, that's what I'm wondering. Like, that's what I think. He's like fucking...
I don't know.
He's
maybe.
Noah up there bringing the fucking old races back down.
Maybe. We get Quarren Half-Hand. Took a captive who says, Mance Raider is massing people in some stronghold he's found. To what end, the gods only know. And do you think your Uncle Benjen is the only ranger missing of late? And Jon thinks, no, there have been others reported
missing.
Missing.
Knows that for sure.
And so, just to really quick break it down, Cotter, the elk and mammoth, Shadow Tower reports whole villages abandoned. Do you think that's them massing with Mance, or is that sketchier?
I think that's more Mance stuff,
cool.
Not like the whites
and
coming in
then,
and
obviously, the last Quarren Half-Hand and the Mance Raider thing is just entirely set up for Clash, because Jon is going to be, is your sword sharp, Jon Snow? And so, you think your brother's war is more important than ours? It's not. God save us, boy, you're not blind or stupid.
When dead men come, do you think it matters who sit the throne? I really like that line, because I think that's going to... Did I cut you off? Or you... Oh, okay, you just had a weird look on your face. He's just got a weird face,
You didn't say the Iron Throne.
Fucking...
You just said the throne.
That's all I wrote.
Well, write the actual fucking quote next time.
I didn't put quotes around it,
It's the fucking Iron Throne.
Paraphrasing.
Give it its proper fucking title.
I'm done with your shit.
Well, respect the fucking material.
Respect the Iron Throne.
Yeah. You think it matters who sits the Iron Throne when literally we just fought fucking whites and you had to burn it in our fucking tower.
Yeah, he says, your father sent you to us, Jon. Why? No one can say. All I know is the blood of the first men flows in the veins of Starks. The first men built the wall, and it said they remember things other ones have forgotten. Whoa. That's all I wrote of that quote, so I don't know if you have more that you wanted to read.
And that beast of yours led us to the whites, warned you of the dead men and the steppes. I think you were meant to be here. And I want you and that wolf of yours with us when we go north of the wall. So.
Mormonts are skin changers, that's why he knows. So,
at least it's not fucking Bolton.
Hey, Bolton's still, and it's like Halloween time. Like, Bolton is prime material right now.
I wish I didn't say a fucking thing. Okay.
Speaking of Bolton.
So, Mormont. So, the blood of the first men is in the Stark veins. First men built the wall. It said they remember things otherwise forgotten.
Yeah.
Green Seers?
Yes.
Children of the Forest.
Yeah.
Like all of it.
Just everything mixed into one there with the remembering and knowing. And...
I want you and that wolf of yours with us when we go beyond the wall. And also, too, the wolf led us to the beast on the stairs and all that fun stuff.
It's done all the work. I don't care about you. Can I have your dog?
Sure, that too. But I'm really fucking caught on the line where Mormont said, your Lord Father sent you to us, Jon. To why? Who can say? Like, is there more to Ned's motive for sanctioning this?
I don't think that, personally. That it's more of the protection, like, of...
Yo, Mormont's got this crazy prophetic raven dancing around on his shoulder.
I'm not saying that, Mormont's not seeing
and he's just straight up saying, like, yo, you're, like, one of the first men, so, like, we're just gonna have you here so you can do some cool shit for us at the wall.
Can you be our magic guy up here?
Yeah, can you just handle that department? The others is you. You got that.
I'll handle Mance Raider. You kill the otherworldly beasts.
You're my steward.
Awesome.
And so, Jon starts getting pumped beyond the
wall.
He
gets a chill of excitement that runs down his back.
And Mormont continues, I mean to find Benjen Stark, dead or alive. I'll not meekly sit and wait for the snows and the ice winds. The Night's Watch will ride in force against the king beyond the wall, the others, and anything else that might be out there. I will command them myself. And he goes on to...
he asks Jon a question. Where's that now where you were going?
Oh, no, I was just going to say, by custom, the Lord Commander's steward is also his squire in battle. But I'll not be worrying you've run off again. And then
he says, are you with me or just a bastard playing at war? And Jon says...
Or for the educated, are you a brother of the Night's Watch, or are you just a bastard boy who wants to play at war? For those who read the text and quote it correctly.
Get over yourself.
And Jon thinks...
I'm of the Night's Watch. I'm going to interrupt you there with a terrible impression and a misquote again.
I don't... Yeah, what was that from? Who quoted... What was that? Oh,
that's
Jon
Jon's
said
response.
That? Oh, yeah, okay. Jon thinks, forgive me, Father, Robb, Arya, Bran. I cannot help you. This is my place. And he says, I am yours, my lord.
Yeah, see? I'm with the Night's Watch.
Your man, I swear it. I will not run again.
Good. Now go put on your sword.
Hey,
did I get that one right?
Fuck yeah. Well, he also snorted.
I didn't finish before you started cheering, so the snort was there. I cut it off.
Cool. Work. Yeah. And that was Jon's final chapter in Game of Thrones. This one I think was just heavy. I mean, it was obviously heavy, as I pointed out with the red, but the
Well, from mentioning the old Nan stories in his past, and the
children,
and the Flory and the Fool, and like then bringing up, Mormont, especially with the mysticism, the children, the knowledge, like it was just this felt like a Bran chapter, very heavy in that magic mysticism.
It also reminded me heavily, like, because I always forget it, but the Mormonts are a fucking northern house, like.
Yeah, well, that's
like
why
they are aware of like the customs.
I joked about the skin changer thing, but that's kind of where I was alluding to with that. Like they're well aware.
They could very well be somewhat attuned to
They have rumors of their house as well,
and with
things.
and what they shape change into bears and shit,
exactly,
and or mate with them to create crazy children, and magic is kicking up again. Who's to say that Mormont's not getting some tingles? Because,
in my opinion, I'm feeling like that would be more with the Raven, the association of that sitting
there,
kind
being at the wall, this hinge
of
the world, as it's
the
described, which is supposedly imbued with magic as well. Like Mormont's kind of in the perfect position to be the catalyst.
That, as you mentioned during Jon's last chapter, that what was going after Mormont. Why Mormont specifically?
Why Mormont?
Clearly, he's capable of countering. And
that's it. Maybe there needs to be a Stark at Winterfell. There needs to be a Lord Commander for the Wall's magic to hold.
And so the Whites are just automatically going after the Lord Commander.
Disassemble the Lord Commander. You break it down. We have an opening. But that's why Jon Snow being dead at the end of Dance is so. It's
daunting.
Because there currently is no Lord Commander right now.
Right.
And so, that could be the opening the Whites and White Walkers need. But you got an inductee?
Oh, fuck.
Yeah.
I'm going to give it to the collective of his friends.
Oh, yeah.
Like, for...
the posse?
For, going out in the middle of the fucking night with some fucking shit, like... working a long day without sleep, all to make sure that their friend doesn't get fucking
they definitely the loyalty there. Like by the end of this book, he has done well to establish this group as like
these are friends.
They care about each other. Yeah, they're brothers at this point.
Brothers.
Yeah.
That's a good one. I'm going to bring in his group of friends.
I was similar, but mine was just going to be Samuel Tarly.
Yeah, see, I almost went him.
His Neville Longbottom moment of, just going in, and especially Jon, who's this badass. Jon came in here with the suave hair. He's the angsty teen. Like, all the girls think he's mysterious. Like,
he's fucking Edward from Twilight.
Yeah, and Sam, like, and he clearly likes Sam and is friends with Sam, but, like, Sam's essentially putting himself as an offensive against him, saying no, like don't do this. And so Sam really came into his own in these Jon chapters too.
Fuck yeah.
And like Sam's growth in it, and it's so funny because my first read through I detested Sam Tarly.
I've always been a fan of
Sam.
Yeah,
you definitely have. You always tend to like those cheery
goofy
guys, Hurley and Lost.
Hurley's my favorite.
And so those are our inductees. We did get one from I was going to say our favorite.
Our French friend.
Our French friend. There you go.
Yeah.
I almost said our French fry.
Our French fry. Julian, you're our French fry.
You're our French fry.
Hell yeah.
I'm sorry that's so creepy.
He
adorable. Says, hi, Nate and Zach. Jesus, did I like that chapter. I guess you could induct Pip or Gren, or every friend of Jon who caught up with him and brought him back. You did that.
Yeah.
However, I love this chapter because of the beautiful lessons that the old bear gave Jon. Ghost is too smart to attack a bear, it says. And then Jon is too smart to attack the old bear. You actually, do you just want to do the podcast for me? Because that was something...
He did that to me last chapter.
I felt like that was something I wanted to note, that when Ghost falls behind, Jon thinks he'll catch up, because he's not going to go after... There's nothing in the woods that can hurt him, and he's not going to go after a bear. Yeah,
I mentioned that.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't listen when you talk.
I didn't make the Mormont connection like that.
You usually misquote it, so I don't know. You could have thrown in a fox or an owl.
Well,
and so Ghost is too smart to attack a bear, and then Jon backing down. That's a fucking brilliant comparison. Or his ass is being so turbo kicked, he has no clue what to say back. I absolutely adore how eloquent and instantly right Mormont is with every sentence he speaks, definitely. Jon, the teenager, gets lectured big time. Moreover, the conversation cements a few cold, hard truths. 1, Jon is the key piece of the whole story. Mormont knows it and clearly takes the role of growing him to be the man he is supposed to be. 2, the cold winds are rising.
Yes.
Heart emoji. 3, The wars for the throne don't mean shit compared to the fight against the dead. That sounds clear as water here. Absolutely. And so my inductee is definitely the old Jeor Mormont and the crow.
And the crow.
As I remain intrigued by that
familiar.
smart crow. Definitely.
So it can hang out.
Valor to Harris.
Wonderful
Julian.
inductee.
Thank you, Julian.
Great points.
Great points. Yeah, and great inductee, old bear. It really, more so even than Ned Stark, it really bothers me what happens to old bear. Like,
yeah.
Because he's betrayed by his own men, man, and he is so about the Night's Watch and just doing what they're supposed to do. So
speaking of Julian, I did want to mention he had asked me on Facebook about the prequel series.
Yeah, that was some decent news.
Yeah, I woke up to this morning first to the bad news that he was asking me about, that the Longest Night prequel is no-go. They have declined it. It was
R.I.P.
a pilot to series, and
Sorry,
then they
Naomi
said no.
Watts.
Then later in the afternoon, new news was revealed that the House of Dragons?
House of Dragons?
Is the Fire and Blood Targaryen prequel series, and that has been greenlit, and that is a go. And so...
all aboard the fucking hype train.
Here we go, man.
Woo, woo!
And so I'm pretty excited for that one. I'm quite disappointed about The Longest Night.
Yeah.
Whether it was going to be good or not.
That, I'm so curious about that, because they aired a pilot for it, yes?
They did not air it. It's not seen footage. They made a pilot.
It was just like that
but
bad?
I don't know. They didn't release yet.
Man,
why?
That's crazy to me, because the Long Night is such an interesting time period in this world.
The golden age, man.
But
much shit.
Not that I'm going to
petition to have fucking shit in.
I don't petition for anything, really.
Speaking of big news, the showrunners for Game of Thrones stepped back from the Star Wars as well, which is unfortunate.
I mean,
a lot of people think it's the wonderful, greatest thing. I don't really want to get caught in the politics of it.
I leave them alone, man.
Yeah, just fucking whatever.
The show's done. Enjoy it.
And so, yeah. Oh, well.
But, we have the new House of Dragons to look forward to, which, if you've read Fire and Blood, you'll know we could be in for some shit, because I'm not quite sure how that's going to go based on what Fire and Blood was. It was a history, more so.
I've read
parts of it. I'm fucking super excited, because there was a lot of information in Fire and Blood that intrigued me, especially with the mysticism part of it. And Valeria just always gets my brain fruits.
Yeah, so maybe we'll either have some Patreon episodes, or kind of like the last season of Game of Thrones, a mini offshoot series of that or something. So when we get more news on that, we'll
definitely probably cover it when it airs, because why the fuck not?
Yeah, why not? So,
anyway, if you would like to send us your inductee as our friend Julian did, if you'd just like to let us know that we're fucking obnoxious, you can write us in many ways.
Yeah, our email is withoutmannersbrotherhood@gmail.com. Our Instagram @mannerswithout. I'm on Twitter @mannerswithout. Zach's on Twitter @carstark92. We are on Facebook, facebook.com/brotherhoodpodcast. And our Patreon, of course, where we have some sweet bonus content, awesome episodes. We've got a few up there. They're the sample chapters from Winds of Winter, where we're doing a reread. So if you want some current content, some of the latest, then go ahead and head over there. That's patreon.com/withoutmanners, of course.
Yeah. Next episode, because we are getting down to the wire here, we're going to be reading Catelyn 11, Catelyn's final chapter in A Game of Thrones.
And the second to last chapter of the book.
We'll be getting the conclusion of Book 1's war for Robb Stark and the North.
We're getting the last chapter from Westeros.
Yeah, and then we'll be heading over and joining Daenerys for the final chapter of hers and of the book. And so, lots of exciting stuff. Dany and Catelyn are really great chapters.
King in the North, we're getting dragons. It's going to be good shit, man.
And then we're going to be doing one last big wrap-up chapter where we'll give what we think are the inductees for the whole book, the person who either had the best character growth, all that fun stuff. Discussing all of it, you know, the themes, motifs, like it'll be like a college lecture.
Shut the fuck up.
No.
I am not researching.
Oh, well,
I'll do some research.
Yeah, you're going to do something.
I do research.
It's not a college lecture. It's just two idiot brothers bantering about the Game of Thrones, the first book, in George R.R. Martin's A Song of Ice and Fire series.
Then comes our short little break, and then we dive into Clash of Kings.
I'm not even fucking ready for Clash of Kings,
Yeah, it's going to be wild. It's going to be so
I haven't even taken it off the shelf yet, because I'm just so excited, because
yeah.
I've still got a note for our wrap-up episode and all that fun stuff. And we still got to record Catelyn and Dany.
Yeah.
So,
all right.
Well, guys, hopefully you'll join us for those and write into us. Let us know what you think, and we'll
Thanks
catch
for
you on
listening.
the next one.
Vela de Harris.
Peace.
Why do I always throw my hands up when I say Vela de Harris at the end of an episode?
I don't know, because you get into it.
Do you ever throw your hands up?
I throw my hands up a lot when we're talking.
Cool.
Yeah, we're both gestury.